Am I the a-hole for housing my daughter but not my stepdaughter? Plus updates. Original post. I'm a 48 male who inherited a beach house from my grandfather. The house has been in my family for generations, and it has a lot of sentimental value to me. I'm now with my long-term girlfriend for 7 years after a divorce from my first wife, which ended on good terms. She has a daughter from a previous marriage, and I have a daughter from my marriage as well. Our daughters are each 17, with mine being basically 3 months younger, and Kara, the oldest, will be 18 in May. Kara's been in my life for 7 years and we have a good relationship. However, she has an active father in her life, so I did not feel that role. I was in her life 50% of the time, so I have no doubt I played a large role in her life. But I wouldn't say father, but others do say a non-legal stepfather. I have my daughter Emmy half the time as well, aside from summers, where I had her more due to my and my ex's lifestyle. With that said, my ex and I have a good relationship, as does our daughter with all of us. Kara and Emmy have gotten along, and they are friendly. They have made plans independent of myself and my girlfriend, but they don't consider themselves sister or best friends. Now to the issue. Kara will be going to school near the beach house, and has asked if she can live in it to save the money, which would be significant. Emmy approached me and has said she wanted to live there after the summer, but wanted to live alone while also in school. The home is more than big enough for two, but she pointed out that they have very different lifestyles and would be far more comfortable alone or with a friend if I insisted she live with someone. It was a frank conversation, and she brought up the fact that the home will be hers one day, so it made sense. And she's right, the home will be hers by law in a few years, as I will pass it to her. My girlfriend and Kara are very upset, and calling it favoritism and pointing out that she will already be set for life between having a free ride to school via scholarships and housing, while Kara will be using loans and may have to take a gap year or attend another school altogether. They are asking me to reconsider, and I think I've damaged my relationship. Am I the a-hole for this decision? I agree that is favoritism, but Emmy's my daughter, so of course I'm going to favor her, right? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. You're Kara's mom's boyfriend and not Kara's stepfather, seeing as you're not married. Kara's dad needs to step up and support her if money is an issue. Exactly, since it's mentioned that her bio dad is active in her life. Why not teach both kids how to be responsible and respectful adults? Charge them rent, albeit low since it will be daughters eventually. They learn valuable lessons. Stepdaughter will learn to respect roommates or get kicked out. Daughter will learn about paying bills and be responsible. What will the daughter do when she does get a house but doesn't learn financial responsibility? Will dad be paying for the property taxes and bills? And why is stepdaughter not approaching his daughter to talk about this? This is not even about charging rent. OP's daughter doesn't want to live with a stepdaughter, and certainly not for 3 years. And I see nothing wrong with that. Why isn't stepdaughter and girlfriend talking to his daughter? Maybe addressing any concerns she may have. Instead, they're going to her dad and asking him to force her to live with a stepdaughter? Not the a-hole. Here's why. Your daughter is a non-party kid. Stepdaughter is a party kid. You own a property, and who in their right mind would let a party kid live in a home way far away who won't be monitored? Drunk kids destroy property all the time, and it's you who will have to fix it. An apartment or anything else means the legal side of you messed it up, or you have to leave for destruction or noise issues are cut and dried, whereas with you, even with side stuff, means a longer, harder road. Also, having a party kid with non-party kid who is focused on school means the one with scholarships has to try and deal with keeping grades up and all extra commotion in-house. To me, it's not about your kid versus stepdaughter. It's about keeping property as is and not having the issues of destruction or other child from losing scholarships. Not only do drunk kids destroy property, they can result in legal issues, and legal issues can be huge. I agree. And in addition to property damage, what would happen to OP if party girl or her guests were injured on the property? And OP's daughter earned her scholarships, so they are not a free ride. That always gets me too. I went to college on scholarships. Even after you get them, you have to work your tail off to keep them. A scholarship is not a free ride. Not the a-hole. For 7 years, your daughter has been pleasant and friendly towards 2 people you brought into her life. Now, she is moving into the next phase of her life, and she would like less contact with them. That seems entirely reasonable. To force her into living with your girlfriend's daughter, especially when there's a lifestyle incompatibility, seems unfair and graceless. You and your girlfriend should be grateful your daughter has made things so easy in terms of the overlapping of your lives. It's absolutely not favoritism, which is an absolutely wild thing to say when Kara also has a living, breathing father with 50% custody. Now for the first update. I spoke to Emmy and her mom and let them know where I stood, and that was beside Emmy. But I also felt that Kara and her mom deserved a genuine conversation. The conversation was this past Friday. The talk started out okay. Obviously, there were some emotions, but I started the conversation with telling everyone there would be no yelling and tears would not be used to influence anyone. After it was all said and we began, I just proposed the situation as, this is a second home that I own fully and outright. It will be Emmy's fully legally and in name in a few years. But as of today, it is mine. However, like the house, Emmy is mine and my responsibility. No one but us is entitled to it. And make no mistake, Emmy is indeed entitled to it. It may not be fair in your eyes, but it is what it is. Emmy, I can see why they may think it's selfish as the house can accommodate you both, but I will support whatever you want to do. This is not a discussion to change your mind, but to better understand it. It started pretty bluntly, from Kara and her mom saying they didn't understand why she didn't want her to live there as this would dictate a huge part of her future. The answer was half expected, and the other half hard for everyone to swallow. Emmy said she didn't trust Kara to actually focus on school and not make the home into a party house. She point-blank asked Kara if she could actually accept not having guests over. And Kara said something like, a few people 2 or 3 days a week wouldn't be a problem, when the answer should have been yes. Emmy said she wouldn't feel safe with her bringing over strange men whenever she wanted, and her dad would want to visit and she doesn't trust him at all. She said school was her main focus, and staying safe would be a worry if Kara was there. Kara and her mom got defensive, but I told them it didn't matter. She can't say she won't bring people over. Tells me all I need to know, and my daughter's safety is paramount, and Kara's focuses were blurred. Socializing is fine, but perhaps I was wrong and it had gotten out of hand. And I told my girlfriend that as her mother, she would have to address that, and that whatever the plan would be for Kara's schooling had she not ever met me, would have to be her course of action. As for Emmy, after the conversation, I told her she would have a roommate, as I felt it was important. She was okay with that, and asked if she could ask a friend. I told her yes, so all is good there. As everyone guessed, girlfriend is now ex-girlfriend. She asked me to stay somewhere else for a week, while she found somewhere to stay. But I reminded her that this was also my house, and she was free to leave whenever. She ended up going to stay with a coworker, but something happened and she asked to come back, but I told her it wouldn't be wise. That's the update. Daughter is happy and I'm better than I thought I would be. Today's a new day. Next we'll figure it out, and Kara has time to learn and grow. Speaking of X figuring it out, did she get to learn how awful Reddit strangers were being about her daughter? Kara's probably already grown, alert from this hopefully enough not to repeat her mother's mistakes. You stuck to your guns, and while I absolutely understand the safety aspect, which not a-hole for this, I stand by my previous replies that Emmy's going to grow up to very controlling, /entitled /selfish, going by how she put things with no visitors at all, rather than just no dodgy people. Just seriously don't take on another partner now until A, Emmy's living her own life, and B, you're actually in love. Because going by previous and especially your footnote here, you clearly weren't with your ex and wasted 7 years of her life, and you're the a-hole for this bit. I wish your ex and Kara all the best. They'll need it. Way to judge Emmy. Some people just want to focus on other things in life, and they don't owe anyone any explanations. Safety and security will always be a top priority in other people's life. What makes someone uncomfortable, as long as they are not stepping on others' rights, is fair. I'm trying to make a list of the things I would have done for free rent in college. Agree to not have friends over is way at the top. I stayed in the closet to graduate without debt. Right? Especially since there's a difference between never have any guests and have guests only on weekends and they can't be strangers and must be agreed upon ahead of time. It sounds like Emmy was willing to be reasonable as long as education was the focus, but a girlfriend's daughter saw it as a free party house. Her dad would want to visit and she doesn't trust him at all. It's odd to me that Opie glossed over this. Yeah, that alone would have me saying nope. I'm very glad Emmy isn't being put in that situation. Kara's response to Emmy's question really highlighted how incompatible they were going to be as roommates. It's good that she didn't pretend she would act otherwise if she really had no intention to. But like if Kara had abided by Emmy's request for several months, she might have built her trust up to be able to have more company over time. Yeah, and that was what she thought would be a reasonable response in front of the parental units. Reality would have been much more often, with many more people. Emmy knows her way better than any of the 4 parents for sure. Good for Emmy. She's gonna go far. Now for the last update. To make a very long story short, this was not the full conclusion that I thought it would be. I'm not super familiar with Reddit, and I thought that update was deleted or not posted by the moderators. So, Kara is now in jail. She was picked up in a stolen Kia by some friends, and they used the car to break into a pawn shop. I couldn't tell you what was stolen or how much was stolen, but some football cards were taken, and I guess they were worth more than a car and building damage. I understand people will say a lot about this, but I can honestly say she never did anything remotely like this. The worst thing I saw her do was break a dish on purpose when she was 13. As for my ex, well, she's living at a shelter now. She was not cheating on me, and I never thought she was. That was just people making leaps. Unfortunately, the woman she was living with asked her to join her and her husband for activities after moving in. She felt she had to do it for a place to live, and she regretted it. She told people at work and was terminated after refusing a transfer. My daughter and I are good, but mentally shook. If your intentions are pure, you don't lose people, they lose you. Never before have I seen this thought better illustrated. You didn't kick anyone out. You didn't end a relationship. You just communicated what was and was not acceptable for you, and the rest was on them. I'm kinda stunned about the audacity of the girlfriend telling Opie that he needed to move out of his house. She was going to try to keep the house, I bet. Getting her out once she was in the sole possession would have been a nightmare. It sounds like Kara's spiraling since the breakup. It must be hard knowing your mother lost her long-term relationship / common law marriage because of you. The girlfriend didn't need to torpedo her relationship because her kid wanted free rent. That much isn't Kara's fault. The ex-girlfriend and daughter could have had everything with Opie, and now have nothing because how entitled they were. I do think they were with Opie for the money, to be honest. So I was originally thinking it sucks that they were left so destitute. But then I was like, wait, WTF? They were living with Opie for 3 to 4 years. Ex-girlfriend could have been saving up, while Opie presumably paid more for expenses. But reading between the lines, she probably didn't do that, and just spent all her money with the expectation of relying on Opie for more. It's still crazy how fast they fell though. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not giving a wedding present I promised because I was uninvited? I, 32 male, was invited to a wedding of an acquaintance of mine named Molly a few months ago. I'm not super close to her or her fiancé, but I love weddings, so I said, yeah, I'll go. Now, the relevant part here is that I have a very good career and make an excellent living. Plus, I love giving gifts and splurging a bit. So I spoke with Molly and her fiancé and promised them a custom-made gaming PC since they game together. They were very happy and thanked me a lot. The price of the PC would come out to be a little over $1,500, not counting the monitor I was willing to throw in. Then 2 months ago, Molly told me that, unfortunately, I had to be uninvited to the wedding as part of a cost-cutting measure. She apologized, but assured me it was only because of cost. I was upset, but let it go. Then I found out a week or so later from a mutual acquaintance that was still going, that Molly told her she had to cut people because she needed the invites for some of the groom's family who decided to come. I was angry, so I decided not to give Molly the PC I promised. Molly's wedding happened 2 weeks ago, and from what I can tell, it was a nice ceremony. Afterward, she actually texted me, asking if we can talk about when the PC would arrive. I asked if we could call. She said yes, and I told her that since I didn't go to the wedding, that I wasn't going to get her a gift. We had a long argument, where she said I was being petty, and that I was holding it against her that I couldn't come, and that I made a promise. I didn't tell her what I knew because I wanted to protect the person who told me. She called me a petty a-hole and complained to our friend group. I explained to few select people the whole story and most agreed with me, but some said that weddings cause people to make tough decisions that aren't personal. So now I'm doubting myself. Maybe it wasn't personal and I'm just being petty. But she did lie to me and uninvited me while still expecting an expensive gift from me. So guys, am I the a-hole? Edit. Anyway, I just had to say that I didn't feel entitled to being invited over the groom's family. I just didn't appreciate being lied to. Had she told me why she needed to cancel, then I wouldn't have minded as much. I just don't understand the need for subterfuge. Also, I don't know anything about PC gaming. I'm a console gamer. I saw some people saying that PC was cheap, so I'll explain. I looked up a gaming PC from a site called Digital Storm. I gave them a model, they liked it, and I ordered it. Also, I don't plan to stop giving gifts, but I will probably scale back on the grandiosity. Hope that clears up stuff. Thank you all. Molly's delusional if she expects an acquaintance who was uninvited to still give a gift. Not the a-hole. There's honestly nothing else to say here. This is it. End of story. And a gift of that magnitude? Sheesh. That's the real reason she's angry. If she was expecting a small gift from OP, there would be no issue here. She realized she lost out on an awesome gift, and she's mad about it. I'm not sure how she didn't see that coming, to be honest. Like that should have been the expected outcome of uninviting someone. Not the a-hole. Wedding presents are commonly given by wedding guests and close family and friends. You weren't any of those things. And on that note, you aren't particularly close. So why did she invite you? Other than your generous reputation? Seems to me she tried to pull a fast one and failed. Well, we're part of the same circles. We've gotten closer over the past year, and she invited some people from our friend group. I made the initial cut, I guess. Plus, I guess she did hear about my gift giving. I would never have the poor taste to uninvite a friend from an event and still expect a gift. If anything, she should be making it up to you. Am I the a-hole for not supporting girlfriend's sister? Original post. Some info. I have been with my girlfriend, 27 female, for 5 years. She loves her sister a ton, which is a good thing as I believe supporting and helping your siblings, as long as it doesn't ruin your own life. You will understand why I say this later on. We just put down a mortgage on a house in the suburbs of a large city. I, 28 male, work in tech as a software developer with a master's degree in computer science. I make quite a lot of money, so money issues never arose, while girlfriend doesn't work and do the chores/cooking in the house. Both agreed on this. I was gonna propose to girlfriend next year, but a problem arose about 2 years ago. For the last 2 years, probably longer, girlfriend has been sending money to her younger sister we'll call Emily. Emily got pregnant at 20 years old. She works as a waitress, while the father is bouncing from job to job. Emily says that he is very lazy. He will disappear hours at a time without telling Emily where he's going or what he's doing. Emily has asked my girlfriend on several occasions for money, and my girlfriend, being the nice and sweet person she is, says yes all the time. It started off as paying for diapers, no problem. Then baby clothes, which also no problem. Then daycare, which I just brushed off. I talked with girlfriend saying we can't always pay for everything, and that helping out for a couple things is okay, but not everything. Girlfriend reassured me and said that it would be stopping soon once they get their feet picked up, which is fine. Then one day I hired a financial planner, and the next day I get an email saying my account has sent approximately $50,000 for the last 10 months and have now just around $20,000 sitting in my account. I talk with my girlfriend, and she apologizes and says she knew that I wouldn't want to keep sending her sister money and how she just cares about her sister. We've been paying for everything: insurance, rent, car payment, daycare, clothing for all three, dinners, dates, going out expenses, and it is partly my fault because I never checked my bank account. My girlfriend shows me text messages between her and Emily saying she needs the money. I then noticed a pattern where Emily would say, "Hey, can you send me dollars? I don't have money for blank." And of course, girlfriend says yes. I brush it off, and girlfriend says she won't send any more. Then the next day, girlfriend sends her $1,000 because they needed car repairs. I talk with my girlfriend and we get into an argument where she says she will always help her sister no matter what. And I understand, to an extent. And we argue trying to understand each other's point of view. As stated, before we had $20,000, and now we're down to $19,000. And then how about the next time? And the next time after that, on top of our own expenses? Girlfriend then decided that she needs some time alone, and that she will be at her mother's for the time being. And now I'm all alone in the house I thought I would live with the girl of my dreams. Am I the a-hole for arguing with my girlfriend for caring about her sister too much? Now for the top comments/advice before reading the updates. Info: how does your girlfriend have access to your account? We share the same account. Decided it'd be best as she went to buy groceries, house items, etc. Cut her off. I'd also rethink the relationship, to be honest. She basically stole from you. Not the a-hole. Separate your bank accounts. Do not let her use your money for her sister. That sister is gonna be a leech for your entire life. So yes, obviously Emily comes packaged with your girlfriend. Better reconsider your entire relationship, because I have a feeling that Emily ain't gonna let the golden goose go. I hope the house isn't under joint names, and that you can finance the mortgage on your own. Time to look at the big picture. Financial planning. Money comes in, money's used for X, Y, and Z. Some fun money, some savings. Your girlfriend can send as much money as she wants to her sister, as long as it comes from her fun money. She doesn't get to raid your savings. If you cannot trust her, you also don't want to marry her. Not the a-hole. Just pointing out that $5,000 a month is a pretty good salary, given she's likely not going to report it as income, and it is on top of whatever her sister earns. Sister's living the good life. Yes, if she wants to keep the relationship going, this is a good strategy. Though I don't know how I could ever trust someone that would spend $50K, agree not to do it again without talking to me, then the next day send $1,000 behind my back. At this point, she and her sister may be splitting the money for when Opie and her break up, as 99.99% of people would never do this if they wanted their relationship to last. Even if that's not happening, to go to her mom's like that is some sort of power play like she has been wronged. It's just so messed up. That is a massive red flag. If she's taking liberties with money in your joint account to fund the lives of 3 people now, don't you think this will continue in the future? $50,000 is a lot of money. She lied when she said she would stop, and then leaves when you call her out on it? Please do yourself a favor and change the locks. Terminate access to your account and get a new girlfriend. You are her cash cow, and she's taking advantage of you. Totally agree. $50K is definitely a lot of money. It's more than some people make annually. She's literally paying them a salary at the liberty of depleting Opie's savings. And if your girlfriend's sister cannot get back on her feet on $5K a month, she's not going to get back on her feet. And what about when her parents retire? It's clear that she feels entitled to funding her family's lifestyle so they can live beyond their means. Unlimited access to your bank account before marriage is wild to me, even if she's doing work in the home. I can appreciate your generosity, but again, you are not responsible for funding her sister's family's lifestyle. And imagine how much more entitled she would feel once you were married. You could tell your girlfriend that if she wants to support her sister, she can get a part-time job and send her the whole paycheck. I think part of the issue could be that she's not understanding the value of the money and could be out of touch after not working for a couple years. Perhaps she would feel differently once she realizes how much work it takes to make that money, even though she'd obviously be making less per hour than you. Not the whole. Now for the updates. Thank you everyone for the support. I never thought that my situation would blow up to thousands of people. I'll try to answer some questions at best. I make around $150,000 a year as a lead software developer. And as someone who has no kids, dogs, or any major responsibility besides myself and a girlfriend, I never checked my account. She comes from a culture where family is everything and money is just paper. She texted me earlier saying how it should always be family first, and that money doesn't mean anything without family, and how we should help close family like siblings in their time of need. At this point, I told her I needed time to myself, and told her not to come back until I'm ready to talk. I apologize if my sentences aren't making sense, as Whiskey is my only friend right now. I also forgot to mention, we started dating before all this money came into play, so I trusted her. I'm more sad by the betrayal than the money. Money will come back, but time will never come back. 5 whole years. My proposal plan, my life plan, my future kids I dreamt about with her, just gone. All the things we've said to each other, all the late night wine drunk times we spent, all the dates, all the flowers I gave her. I really tried with all my power to be the best man she can have. I would have trusted her with my life. And what do I get back? $5,000 gone. Final update 2 weeks later. She's now my ex. We met at a local coffee shop and I told her that things wouldn't work out for us. And she went absolutely ballistic. She caused a scene begging me to not end it. It did hurt me to see her like this, but after a couple weeks to give it some thought, I would not want a wife who is a liar and one I couldn't trust financially. I left a $100 bill on the table and left, but she followed me down to my car. She begged and told me she wouldn't send any more money to her sister and how she would do anything for us to be together. It was hard, but I stayed strong. She picked up her belongings the other day and I almost had to call the cops because she wouldn't leave. She first tried everything from simple favors, begging, crying, then it turned to screaming that I ruined her life, to even saying that without her I wouldn't have gotten to where I am now because of her support. I stayed strong, and when she left, I just broke down sobbing. For those wondering, I'm not gonna press charges because all I want is for her to leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't ever want to see her face again. The money will come back as it's just me, a house, and 2 paid-off cars. It does get lonely, so I'm thinking of getting a puppy, a Doberman for those wondering. Thank you everyone for all the suggestions, and a lot of you really had me thinking about my decisions, and I definitely learned a lot of valuable lessons. Goodbye and thank you. Diapers, sure. Maybe even daycare. That's a big expense and that can really help out a young mother. But $5,000 a month? No, that's a full-time job worth of pay. Girl gave away a third of his yearly income in less than 10 months. That is twice as much as I make in a month with a full-time job. That goes above and beyond helping with the necessities. That is bankrolling someone's entire life. I have a feeling that OP's ex-girlfriend is more worried about how she's going to explain to her sister that there are no more handouts coming than her relationship coming to an end. Maybe she's also worried about how her life is no longer filled with that meaningless paper and she will have to get a job while living with less. Seems like she got used to living that lifestyle and can't go back. I doubt she can rely on her sister to pay back the favor. A smaller joint account would have been good at this time, or more money in investments. She lost the golden goose, which is giving her more mercenary motives in the relationship. I genuinely think she's maybe a pushover or can't say no type of person to be guilt-tripped. And like I said in another comment, it's easier to spend the money when it wasn't you who had to work for it. Lol, sure money's just paper when you're not the one earning it. It must be nice to be so fast and loose with someone else's money. Glad he found everything out and dropped her. I luckily had this demonstrated to me when I was still young. A girl I met at uni, she lived for free in a nice house owned by her family friends, worked hospitality jobs, and would just move jobs when she got bored. We went out as friends every week, and I ended up paying for movies, coffees, etc. One day, we got into the topic of money and she said, "You care too much about money." I disagreed, and we went back and forth till I dropped the subject. The next time I saw her, she wanted to see a movie and I agreed. I paid for my ticket and stepped aside as the attendant asked her to pay for hers. She was stunned for a moment and had to dig through her bag for her card to pay. We didn't go out after that. Knew a girl at uni like that. Insanely naive, with the ability to just pay for anything she wanted to with a credit card her parents paid off in full. She heard me complaining that I was broke till payday and was utterly incredulous that I had to wait, that my parents just wouldn't give me money unless I was in real trouble, and that I politely turned down her offer to get me what I needed. She was trying to be kind, but it was just so scary how little she considered the cost of anything. I had a similar girl at work who asked why I took the bus instead of buying a car. I came to find out her parents paid for insurance, fuel, registration. She didn't even know what this was and paid for half the initial sale price. No wonder she thought it was such a simple solution. Last story. Am I the a-hole for basically telling my brother that I don't blame his girlfriend for leaving him? My 32 female brother, 34, had been dating 32-year-old Jane for like 10 or 11 years. In the beginning, the whole family absolutely adored her, but over time, like maybe 3 years ago, Jane became kind of witchy and distant, and none of us understood why. She wouldn't answer us when we asked, so we admittedly kind of just avoided her honestly. She blocked everyone off everything, stopped going to family events, etc. I know I personally started really hating her for personal reasons, as the only person she ever acknowledged was my husband and she was flirty, and it didn't sit well with me. However, my brother shows up here completely tanked last night, saying Jane left him. During his visit, he started opening up on the why aspect and informed me that when Jane was like 23, she expressed wanting to get married and wanted to have babies and whatnot. something none of us knew, as we thought they were child-free by choice, as that's what my brother told all of us. He said to me that he told her that if she loved him, she would wait until he got his stuff together. So she apparently waited around for years, just waiting on him, before he finally told her last week that he didn't want kids or to get married, and that he was comfortable with the life he has currently. So she left. He expressed that around the time that she started acting really bad to the rest of the family was because during that time I was pregnant and she couldn't stand being around me. He also very bluntly said she wanted your husband and talked about him all the time because she knew he wanted kids and I was holding out. And he had apparently been the reason she blocked all of us because of her comments about my husband. But looking back now, it makes a lot of sense. Anyways, at the end of the conversation, I said that I can understand why she left. I told him I understand him as well, and his reasoning behind not wanting kids or marriage. But if it was that important to her, I can totally see why she left. Especially where he made a promise of when I get my stuff together, just to tell her years later that he basically lied and never wanted kids or marriage. So she probably feels like he wasted her time. I made a point to tell him I understood both sides, but he chalked this up to me agreeing with Jane and said that women shouldn't always stick together, you know. I'm your freaking family. And Jane left the love we had behind over potential kids and a piece of paper. That wasn't what I was trying to say, but regardless, my husband did tell me later on that I should have just not said what I said, regardless of how true it was. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She wanted children, and he didn't, so she left. Frankly, he wasted a decade of her time. I feel bad for her. Not just wasted her time, but very possibly took away her opportunity to have kids at all. At 32, she's on a tight timeline to date around, meet someone great, and mutually decide to have kids together. Poor woman. Yeah, they had a fundamental incompatibility, and she left to pursue someone else. All in all, this was honestly the best outcome he could have expected to receive under the circumstances. And he should be grateful she respected him enough to just leave, instead of trying to force the relationship to proceed on her terms through duplicitous means like he did. Not the a-hole, and I'm saying this as a married child-free guy. If one person wants kids and the other doesn't, they're fundamentally incompatible, and your brother wasted good years of his life by stringing this poor woman along. And not to trot out this line, but if he changes his mind and suddenly wants to have kids, he will always be able to do that. He could turn around at 45 or 50, hook up with a younger woman and have kids. There are men in their 70s who are fathers to newborns. Barring an accident or a disease, men will always have time. Women don't have that luxury. If you want kids, losing 10 years is a huge deal. Actually, men also don't have much time. The older a man gets, the more risk is there that the child won't be healthy or will have problems. Also, the women who will bear that embryo will also take health risk from that. So yeah, men and women have a biological clock. Not the a-hole. Your brother knew he wasn't keen on marriage and kids. He knew Jane was. He intentionally led her on with lies suggestion he would want those things in the near future once his act was together. And when he figured he'd led her long enough that she would fall victim to sunk cost fallacy, he dropped the bomb that he would never be willing to give her the relationship and family of her goals. Your brother doesn't suck for not wanting those things, but he sucks so hard for leading Jane on, and then acting like he's the one with any right to be hurt. And your husband sucks for butting in, and suggesting you pretend to side with your a-hole brother just to keep some semblance of peace. Jane doesn't deserve that, even if you'll never see her again. Update. Am I the a-hole for wanting to break up with my girlfriend after her ex's funeral? Original post. So my girlfriend and I have been together for about 4 years. She used to be close friends with her ex. However, he tried to make a move on her while she and I were together, so she cut off their friendship. They knew each other for about 10 years. They were high school sweethearts and stayed together throughout college. They broke up because he did not want kids. He died recently, and my girlfriend was invited to the funeral. While I wasn't happy, so to speak, to see my girlfriend cry about this guy, I swallowed my emotions and offered my full support. She asked me to come with her, and here's where things get messy. She kept talking about she wishes they never broke up in the first place, and that she's never met someone who she loved as much as him. She made a speech about how she says that if things had been different, they'd be a happy family with children. I had to force myself not to say anything then. Now we're back home, she hasn't said anything about what she said. I'm so close to just leaving, but I just don't know if she only said that out of grief. Now for the top comments before reading the update. She would have left you in a heartbeat if he had told her he was ready for kids. You're not her first choice. Yeah, imagine when the guests head over to Opie's girlfriend. Guests and family. That was a lovely speech. They look at Opie. Oh, who are you? Opie, her boyfriend. Guests and family. Oh, it's messed up. Me? I'm just a guy filling in for the dead guy. Opie, you do not want to be Will Smith. You do not. GTFO. Not a-hole. People can say, be understanding. She's dealing with a heavy loss. But that doesn't magically fix the sting of the words she said that hurt you. If this was within 6 months of the breakup, maybe I'd be more understanding. However, you've been together for 4 years. They ended due to his desire to not have children. So not only is she hurting you, she's lying about the dead guy by telling everyone the fantasy life she'd imagined for them, as if it was holy writ. She's more than allowed to feel grief due to their decade-long history. However, she's not allowed to treat you as less than, second, or just good enough. You 100% deserve someone who puts you first always, with very rare exceptions, and this ain't one of them, honey, as I'm sure you've done for her. Heck, you went with her to the funeral of her ex because she asked. You were there for her, and she showed you where you rank in the grand scheme of things. Leave for you. Choose to put yourself first, because guess what? She showed you in a room full of people where you rank. You deserve more than this betrayal. Maybe by if things had been different, she meant if he'd wanted kids, or something like that. If she's already in if-only land, it's not a huge stretch for her to think if he'd wanted kids, we would have stayed together. And if we'd stayed together, we would have had kids. And maybe he wouldn't have been in the situation that led to his death because of the butterfly effect or something. Who knows? Opie should leave her. It sucks to be the settled for backup, and she shouldn't be saying these kinds of things where he can hear. Or honestly, even where he can't. Now for the update. Hello everyone. It's been a stressful couple of days, and my post got a lot more attention than I expected. It was overwhelming, to be honest. It's been a week since the funeral itself, and I've been talking to some friends, as well as reading comments on my last post. Truth be told, I've been hesitant to talk about this to my girlfriend because she's still a bit depressed. She's not talking to me at all, and I've been taking care of everything around our place. She's just been laying in our bed. I've tried to talk to her, but she just shuts me out. I've been reflecting on our past relationship and realized a couple things. My girlfriend was never as passionate with me as she was with her ex. She never did anything as romantic or thoughtful for me when compared to her ex. For example, she's never gone traveling for more than 3 days with me, but she traveled often with her ex, sometimes for years. It's not like I haven't offered, I was simply told to get over it, and that each relationship is different, and people said stuff like, if she wanted to be with her ex, she would be. Something also to note is that some of you actually pointed my attention to another post. One that's about a girl going to her ex's funeral. I read a post, and I don't know if it's actually my girlfriend or not. Some details are different, like our age. We're both 30. Also, I never said anything about breaking up with her for going to the funeral. I wasn't exactly happy to see her mourn the guy who wanted to sleep with her while she was with me, but I didn't actually say anything. Now, the post admitted that she actually cheated. I thought about this for a second, but it doesn't matter. Because if she cheated or not, I already broke up with her. I did have a talk with her. She refused to at first by not responding to me, but when I told her I was leaving, she finally said something to me. I basically told her that I feel crap ever since she said those things at a funeral. How I feel like she would rather be with her ex than me. That I felt like her second choice. She started to yell at me, calling me selfish and that she's lost one of the most important people in her life, and I shouldn't make this about me. I was too tired to try to yell back. My things were already packed up. I'm staying with my parents for a while. Our lease doesn't expire for a few months, so I don't know what she's planning to do. I don't know what to do now. I thought I was gonna marry this girl someday and have kids, but she wanted someone else all this time. I appreciate all the comments, and I don't know if I'm gonna post another update, but thank you. Calling me selfish and that she's lost one of the most important people in her life, and I shouldn't make this about me. Here's the thing. She didn't lose one of the most important people in her life. She made it clear that she lost the most important person in her life. From your other post, she kept talking about she wishes they never broke up in the first place and that she's never met someone who she loved as much as him. She made a speech about how she says that if things had been different, they'd be a happy family with children. I don't know what other conclusions to read from this. I could certainly see feeling sad or down when an ex that you've known for a significant part of your life passes away. But that's not only what occurred. She wishes they never broke up. She's never met someone who loved her as much as he did. And if things had been different, they would still be together. In each of those thoughts, you are, at best, second place. Never includes you. She is with you because they broke up. She doesn't think you can ever love her as much as he did. And if things were different with him, she would not be with you. Is she mourning him and the significance he had had in her life? Or is she mourning someone she still loved and mourning the loss of the opportunity to still be with him? You're not selfish, and you do not want to be with someone where you will always be a placeholder. I think this is an excellent take. I have a friend whose ex died a while back. They were together for a few years, and they ultimately broke up because of incompatible life goals. They were both really torn up about it, and it took her a while to move on, but she did. As time went on, she would sometimes talk about things in their relationship that weren't that great, or she looked back on now and saw some other issues that were glossed over in the moment. All in all, she reflected on their relationship fondly, but it just didn't work out. She dated some other people, but nothing serious. Then, he died in a tragic accident and she was devastated. And I truly understood. Their relationship had been quite serious, probably the most serious one she'd ever had. They broke up so they could both be happier living the lives they wanted, but then he died. He's not out there living his life. He's gone. It took time, nearly a year, but today she truly has mourned him and moved on. There was no what ifs or the one who got away. They made their decision back then that there was no future between them. She hadn't been pining for him the whole time. What she mourned was him losing his future and the pain that his loss caused his family. She's back out there dating again and really does seem ready now. OP's ex clearly hoped that her ex would change his mind and had been dating OP to keep herself occupied until that time. Now that her ex is gone, he's going to forever be on a pedestal and no one else will ever measure up. I hope she gets some therapy so she can move on for real and stop lying to herself about what she's doing. Man, you are doing the right thing. You absolutely deserve someone who loves you as the first priority. I wish you all the best for your future. OP has finally decided to stand up for himself and we are all proud of him for doing it. For her to scream that she lost one of the most important people in her life really dodged a bullet. This, like, damn ma'am, did you hear nothing he just said to you? Nope, because she only cares about herself. Might be why her ex dumped her. Hard to date somebody when their head is up their own behind. Last story. Update. Am I the a-hole for rolling my eyes at my boyfriend's proposal because it took 25 years of me begging? Original post. Yesterday after dinner, my 52 female boyfriend of 30 years, 53 male, proposed to me. He just walked towards me holding a box and said to open it. It was a ring, and I had pictured this moment a million different times, but never thought I'd be so apathetic. My boyfriend then said that he was retired now and wants to kick back and enjoy life with me, and would love to do it all with me as his wife. And I speech and all, but from the 5-year mark of our relationship onwards, I had been making clear my deep desire to marry, and was consistently dismissed, given empty promises, gaslit. We had been through the gamut with therapy, and one counselor implied that me telling him we needed to go to therapy and getting his butt on a couch still means nothing if his mind has been made up. I was in denial about the fact he was just giving me the false illusion of progress to stall. My boyfriend and I have 4 kids. The oldest 3 are adults, while the youngest is 15 female who was sleeping over elsewhere when this all went down. All of our kids went to a private school filled with typical Southern soccer parents. I had to endure PTA mom's jabs about me not sharing a last name with my kids. Preteen years were hell, because the other kids would taunt my kids by saying, "Your dad would rather sin and go to hell than marry your mom." My boyfriend's mom would tell him marriage would be selfish on my part. It is just a piece of paper. My boyfriend ended up rising up the ranks until he became an executive. I was his stay-at-home mom, so I felt like there was always a power imbalance, exasperated by the fact I could be tossed away any time. I partly did stay because I wanted my kids to have the best life, and because I felt lucky and proud to be partnered with such an intelligent, successful man, but also because I loved him. These past few years, my boyfriend's career has taken a downturn. He will never be poor, but a company he was part of took a nosedive during 2020, and he had made enemies out of associates and board members. He decided to step back from his role and take the generous severance agreed upon. Now he is living off his investments and wants to relax. I did not like how his career ended and how he treated people, and had been deciding whether I wanted to leave and find somebody else after our youngest turns 18. So, the proposal was a shock because I should hope that he noticed I have avoided conversations about the future as of late. He rattles on about downsizing our house so we can travel, and also cutting back on our other expenses. But we're not married, so it's all his money/house anyway. He did notice my eye roll and was offended. He asked what's wrong, and I said that suddenly now that he's downsizing I'm good enough to marry? He got mad and said that now that he's downsizing and no longer an executive, I suddenly think our relationship is disrespectful, and started implying I was a gold digger. I was so angry I walked out. I said I might just go out looking for a respectful relationship because I don't know what respect is anymore. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. If you were begging for him to propose, why did you stay for 25 years? Because I was a stay-at-home mom of many kids, and he was this big executive, so I felt if I offended him in any way, he'd use his influence to screw me in a custody battle, or otherwise make my life miserable. He has noticed that you've been pulling away from him. That's why he's chosen to propose now. If he wanted to marry you, he'd have done it years ago. This is just an attempt to make you stay by giving you what you wanted. The retirement is just a convenient excuse. Some studies seem to indicate that as men experience a drop in testosterone, they suddenly start to value relationships a lot more, with both their kids and their partners. Depending on just how poorly they've treated everyone, they may find they've burned those bridges, leaving them no choice but to get a new wife and start a whole new family at 50. I'm sort of kidding about that last bit, but it's why I'm not sure what I make of the studies. They provide convenient cover for do-over families instead of putting in the work to atone for the harm one has caused. All of that to say, it's theoretically possible that now that his career has failed, he realized just how much he does in fact want OP to be his permanent partner. But it's still crappy of him to think just because his mind has finally changed, she should be happy. And in her shoes, I'd walk. What did he expect? What did you expect? Like seriously, you wanted a marriage but you stayed half your life with someone so set on making you the bad guy for wanting that until recently? Why would you stay with someone like that? Why would you reproduce with someone like that? Several times. It's just disappointing for your kids to suffer that much bullying for this. Like all for nothing. I don't know who the a-hole is, but unfortunately for him, he kind of missed his chance. And unfortunately for you, you put yourself in a box. Not the a-hole for rolling your eyes, but everyone sucks here. You for enabling him to do you dirty for 25 years. Get all of the privileges of being a husband without ever being your husband. You begged someone to marry you, the value you have which he didn't, and you proceeded to have several children with him. Like, girl, stand up please. He wasted your whole life and now he's playing in your face. Now for the update. At the time of my original post, my boyfriend and I had not spoken since the engagement fight. I've been with him long enough to know that when he goes and closes the bedroom door before I get in, that's a signal that I should sleep in one of the guest rooms. So I did that. However, this morning I broke the ice. I told him about how dismissed I felt over the years. I also said that we are both in our 50s, and these last few years have taught us that people at work who kiss the ground you walk on one day can easily turn on you the next. And true partners in life are valuable and hard to find, so I wished he'd treat me like I'm valued. Instead, he treats me like he thinks prettier, better, and just as loving is always around a corner. I apologized for the eye roll, but told him that if he wants marriage, I want a quick committed timeline and genuine happiness from him to be marrying me. I don't need a big party. He listened to me and finally asked if this was about the money/security. He told me that being an executive's girlfriend required things of me, but if I wanted to work, I could have. He said he doesn't think I'm grateful enough for the position in society I was in due to his career. But that is not mad about the eye roll. He said he didn't succeed by being that sensitive. He went on to say I was not his prisoner, so I can leave at any time. But to remember he won't tolerate being made my prisoner either via manipulation. He said that for what it's worth, the engagement ring is mine and I could do whatever I wanted with it. He will also not be accused of not providing for his daughter, so be assured he won't shirk child support. But that it felt what I said before was emotional blackmail. So he no longer wants to go forward with marrying, but says if I'd like to travel with him, that's fine. Him traveling is non-negotiable, and so if I wanted to get a job, it would have to be a remote job. It was a sad conversation, and I spent a few hours alone after that. I felt I had nothing to lose, so I just asked him if he would support me getting an associate's, but that most associates for technical careers were in person. He then dropped the bombshell that if I wasn't traveling with him, he wasn't going to go those periods without sex. I was astounded by his callousness, because he's back to take it or leave it. We fought again with me saying we're all feeling the effects of age. I've supported him through health issues, and if he thinks he can just find somebody who has that loyalty I've shown him, he's wrong. At this point, I'm looking for ways out. I can't say I haven't been tempted to say I'll travel with him and try to get a remote job, but also realize how resentful I am that he continues to need to have the power in the relationship. I don't think I'll ever know my value truly, but something's telling me there has to be a better out there, at least in a partner. Update. Am I the a-hole for gifting my granddaughter a custom-made cookbook instead of something a little pricey? Original post. Hello everyone. My friend's son told me about this app and told me I should post it in here to get some unbiased opinion. I'm 59 female, have 3 kids, 39 male, 35 female, 32 female. My husband died 10 years ago, and from then on I have been on my own. I live in a small townhouse. I am not poor, but I am comfortable with my living situation. So, recently, my son Keith, 39 male, told me he wanted to throw a party for my granddaughter Rita's 18th birthday because she is going to be an adult. He wants the date to be memorable to her. I know my son. He loves his kids very much. I love my grandkids as well, but I know he's going to buy her some expensive gifts. I, on the other hand, cannot afford to buy something expensive, but I wanted my gift to be thoughtful and show efforts that I love Rita as well. So, I had an idea. I have been a home cook for more than 30 years. I used to work in a restaurant before, and then moved on to having my own catering business in my early years. I loved creating new recipes and altering the old ones to my own. So, I had an idea to make a compilation of some of my signature recipes and make them into a book. I wrote down 20 recipes in my computer, and with the help of some grateful people, I was able to print them out. I then had another idea to make the recipes into a cookbook. So, I went on a publication house and told them to make a cookbook that looks like an ancient book, except it will contain recipes. I did that because 1. Rita has a passion for cooking. She wants to go to culinary school and hope to open her own restaurant chain. 2. Rita also likes things that are like medieval. She is into one of those Lord of the Rings kind of things. So, I thought it was a thoughtful gift for my lovely granddaughter. When the day arrived, I packed it up along with her favorite cookies. When it was time to open the presents, she got a lot of stuff. And when it's time for mine, I was happy. She opened it and gasped. I explained it to her that the book contains all the signature recipes I have made over the years. I don't want her to have it. She said thank you and that she appreciates my gift, and someday she will try to recreate it. Everyone seems to be happy, except for her mother. She pulled me to the side and told me I should have made more effort into her gift and not give her some cheap book. I was appalled. I told her Rita likes it, and that's all that should matter. And she told me Rita only pretended to like it because she doesn't want to be disrespectful, and Rita is still a child who doesn't know anything. It also added that it was a little narcissistic of me to make Rita's gift about myself and my cooking, rather than it being about her. Now I am sad. If Rita didn't like it, I would be happy to replace it. But it is now making me wonder if my gift was actually cheap or not. Should I have just bought something a little bit pricey rather than giving her a cookbook? Now for the top comments before reading the update. In 10 years, she won't remember most of the pricey gifts. She will have yours and a piece of your heart forever. And they'll be broken or out of fashion. This book shows how much she knows about her granddaughter and their close relationship. I have a feeling Mommy's jealous about the love, thought, and care you put into this particular gift. Anyone can buy expensive gifts, but not many can give a priceless gift like Grandma gave her. Yes, this is one of those easy answers. The custom cookbook is going to be a treasure, not a hole. No, that was a wonderful and thoughtful gift. Rita's mother has no class. Thank you. You put effort in it. Try to get her something unique and something for her. Sounds like you nailed that. Her love for cooking and ancient-looking things, etc. If for her mother it's cheap, then she seems cold-hearted. Gifts that come from love and thoughts about a person is for are one of the most precious. Not the a-hole. Rita's mom is the a-hole. I wish I had my grandma's recipes. She passed 10 years ago, and I miss her so much. My grandma handwrote our multiple family recipes that I've framed and hung up in my dining area. She died 7 years ago, and those are some of my most treasured gifts. They were just hastily written out and given to me for zero special reason. This gift will outshine anything else she got, and I feel her mother was jealous. Honestly, I'm thinking about doing this with a few of my recipes for my kids. Thanks for the great idea, and forget about anything that jealous shrew has to say. Not the a-hole. OP, you are not the a-hole. Rita's mother is. Some people are materialistic, and she sounds like one of them. I'm sure Rita's gasp was with pleasure. Why not ask Rita directly? Her opinion is the only one that matters. For what it's worth, I would love a gift this thoughtful. If you ever decide to sell the book/recipes, please let me know. Not the a-hole. Now for the update. Hello. I want to thank everyone for your kind and warm comments. They are so nice and full of love, I know people have asked about what happened next, so I wanted to give you some update too. I saw some of you advised me to ask Rita privately if she liked the book I gave her or not. And I did. I called her up a few days ago and just wanted to chat with her. After some small talk, I asked her if she liked the present I got for her. She told me she loved it. She has been reading all the recipes and will try to recreate them. She then, out of the blue, asked me if she and her brother could come to my place and stay. I told her they can, whenever they want. But I find it a little odd. They did stay over at our place when their mom and dad were going on a vacation, though I know for sure they are not. So the next day, my son Keith drops both my grandchildren, Rita and Tom, at my place. I know something was wrong as soon as I saw my son's face. I invited them in. I asked Rita and her brother to go to the kitchen and have some snacks. And I asked my son if everything was alright. My son looked a bit sad and angry. It was a mixture of both of those emotions. Then he revealed to me he had an argument with his wife and that he is seeking a divorce. Obviously, I was shocked. They never seemed like a couple who would have problems. Whenever I saw them, they were like happy couples who couldn't stay away from each other for a long time. I asked him in details what exactly happened. Why is he seeking for a divorce all of a sudden? He didn't go much into details. He just said he and his wife got into an argument because of my gift. His wife apparently told him to make me buy a second gift that looked a little bit expensive, like something designer. He said to her that it was not necessary, that Rita likes it, and that's all that matters. They then got into a significant altercation over this. My son confessed that he has been unhappy in his marriage for a long time. They would fight because of my daughter-in-law's habit of spending. My son does earn a lot, but to see his wife spending his hard-earned money on useless things really makes him mad. He tried to have a conversation with her because of it, but it failed. He also said there were other problems too, but he doesn't want to talk about it until he sorts this out. I regret that their argument was sparked by my gift. I hope they are able to sort it out. Regardless of what my son decides, I will be there to support him. I do feel bad for Rita and Tom. Rita is an adult and she can understand, but Tom is still 14. He has to grow up in an unpleasant situation. Before leaving, my son requested me if I could keep both of his kids with me for a while because the tension in his house right now is not healthy for them. I happily agreed. I don't mind having my grandkids with me. On the other hand, Rita has promised to help me find and compile my old recipes. Some of them are really old, and the journal I wrote it on has been in bad condition. I think writing them in a Word document is a better option. Also, a lot of you guys asked me to release my cookbook. I don't know if I will do that. That sounds like a good plan, but I will put a pin on it for now. I have a lot on my plate right now. The gift was truly a blessing in disguise for the son. That daughter-in-law sounds too materialistic. I agree. There's a difference between enjoying being pampered by your loved ones and expecting super expensive gifts from everyone. She didn't even want the gift to be expensive. She wanted it to look expensive or to be something she could use herself. Opie exposed the narcissist fully by gifting the granddaughter something intensely personal between the two of them. I grew up with my grandma making the best meals, sometimes from only a few ingredients. She passed 20 years ago, and I would give anything to have something like this from her. Right? So many years of curated recipes. That's priceless. My mom died when I was 16, and I can't tell you how many times I have wished I had some of her recipes. This was an amazing gift. I'm sorry for your loss. I will gladly share some of my family's recipes. They're delicious. The secret ingredient is always love. The Heritage cookbook sounds just so lovely. My grandma passed away having written down most of her recipes, but only in single copies. A few years ago, I made it a point to sit down and find out what people actually wanted recipes for and sought them out. Once I had them, I went on to a custom photo printing website and created a family cookbook, including recipes from my mom as well, and dozens of family photos. The only people who were in on it were my mom and dad, since they helped us get everything together. I ended up ordering something like a half dozen of the books and gave them out for Christmas presents to family. It wasn't extremely expensive. I want to say they ran around $20 each with shipping, but they were beloved by all that received them. Last story. Am I the a-hole for screaming at my stepmom that I don't want her stupid family heirloom and to give it to her own daughter? My dad married Lucy when I was 8. My dad and Lucy met at a support group for grieving widows and widowers, and they were dating almost immediately after meeting, which was 6 months after my mom died and 11 months after Lucy's first husband died. Lucy has a daughter, Macy, who was 7 when her mom married my dad. Macy and I never got along. We are toxic together. Pretty sure the reason is we were 2 grieving kids who lost a parent, struggling with the loss of said parent, and then our surviving parent marries the others. And suddenly the step-parent is being over pushy and calling us their kid, and we're not getting what we need from our actual parent. Lucy was especially bad. She called me her daughter before they were officially married, and she told me years ago that she was saving her engagement ring from her first marriage for me, which was a family heirloom her parents gave her first husband. I told her that I didn't want it, and she ignored me. She even ignored her own parents, saying they wanted Macy to have it and not me. She was offended they would treat me as less of a grandkid. But it's true. They are not my grandparents, and I'm not their granddaughter. Now, I'm 17 and Macy is 16. And I don't know exactly how it all happened, but Macy was told by Lucy that the engagement ring from the marriage to Macy's dad was being saved for me, as her oldest daughter, and Macy lost it. She yelled and screamed at her mom that she is her daughter, not me, that her dad proposed to her with a ring not mine, and if anyone should get it next, it should be her. I was yelled at next. At the time, I was oblivious to the fact she had yelled at her mom, but Macy called me a thief, said she hated me, said I should have died with my mom instead of stealing hers and stealing a memory of her parents' marriage, and that I was a selfish witch. I couldn't believe Lucy told her own daughter she was giving me her ring, after I said I wouldn't want it. So then I yelled at Lucy. I told her I didn't want her stupid engagement ring, that it was meaningless to me, that she would never be my mom. And if she thought the ring would do anything but go to waste if saved for me, then she was mistaken. I told her to give it to her own daughter and stop being such an uncaring mom to her. My dad told me about the stuff Macy said to Lucy after I had stormed off. He told me I piled on Lucy, and it wasn't right. He asked me why I had to be so angry about the ring, and I told him nobody but Lucy wants me to have it, and I'm seen as selfish when I don't want the damn thing, and told her as much. He said I owed Lucy an apology and to give her as my mom a chance, because he's tired of us being a fractured family. He also told me I was a real a-hole to Lucy. I told him that's what you get when 2 fractured grieving families get forced on each other. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Ironic that this ring is the one thing you and Macy can finally agree on. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, not the a-hole. Yep, but I can't blame her for being angry at me too. Her mom is focused so much on me that she wasn't there for her when she needed her to be. I just hate that I am now the bad guy when I never ever wanted or accepted a ring. I do mildly feel sorry for Lucy and your dad. It must be really hard when your kids don't get along. But as you yourself rightly say, you can't force people to bond, especially when you're both grieving, etc. And yeah, I feel for Macy too after reading what you just added. I get what the 2 parents were trying to do, and why, and how hard it can be. But man, they need to let it go and allow the 2 of you to coexist neutrally rather than try to force closeness. Yes, I know it bothers them that we also don't really care for the spouse either. Lucy's not someone I would go to with a problem nor particularly care for, and Macy feels the same way about my dad. They tried to make a family, but it was always a name only. Like I say, ironically, this could bring you and Macy closer at last. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Lucy seems to have no freaking idea how to parent even her own kid. The ring thing is so bizarre and horrible. They can be, but I don't think Macy will ever consider me a friend. After the ring thing, I don't know that she won't always hope that I die and leave her alone. Lucy and my dad are both like that now, but my dad wasn't always. Grief changes people and not always for the better. Not the a-hole, but your father and Lucy are. I'm really sorry for you and Macy. I cannot imagine what goes through Lucy's mind when she wants to give the ring for you instead of Macy, as it belongs to her father's legacy. You have the right to have the memory of your mom, and Macy has the right of the memory of her father. Your step-parents shouldn't force themselves in a situation where they want to completely replace the original parent. I think you should seek therapy as a family. I honestly don't care about making us a family after all this time, and I'm almost free from this. Dad and I don't really have much of a relationship, and I'm pretty sure it will be the same for Lucy and Macy in another couple of years. Family therapy only works when you want to be a family, or are a family. Ours was always more in name only than practice, and for me it's not worth saving anything. Maybe if I'm just gone, Macy will actually get a ring. Or maybe Lucy will always hold on to it and think of it as belonging to me. But I won't play a part in that. Have you tried to speak to Macy that you don't want a ring? That you explained when it was mentioned that you said it should go to Macy and that you wanted nothing to do with it? Or would that be an effort in futility? I think trying to talk would make things worse. Too many years of bad blood between us for that, and too much of Lucy choosing me over her own daughter for Macy to want to hear me speak about it.